I am Grady Collane in the CapeCod.com News Center, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm joined today by a special guest from the Cape Symphony. Do you mind introducing yourself for our listeners?
Yeah, hi Grady. This is Mike Albaugh with the Cape Symphony. I'm the executive director and very excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio this fine morning. Very cold, but we're
very
working
cold,
on it.
very wet. But hey, it's a good time to try out that fall wardrobe. We have to embrace it now. It's winter is upon us. So.
Yes, it's right around the corner now. We're getting a bit chillier this very same week. So we wanted to chat a lot about just a variety of topics involving the Cape Symphony, mostly talking more about how the season's going, what's lined up for the future, as well the ongoing hunt for the next artistic director for the Cape Symphony. So let's just start with that. Basically, how is that hunt going? How is the application process? And for those who aren't familiar, can you kind of outline what the plan is?
Yeah, absolutely. We decided as we were looking down the road, we didn't want to rush into this. Let's take our time and make sure we find the right individual, because the Cape Symphony, it's a multifaceted organization. People think that it's just an orchestra. We're not. Half of what we do is the orchestra concerts and performances. The other half is education, youth orchestra, there's a dance company, there's a variety of education. We have a huge preschool program. And so, when we're trying to look ahead, we wanted to find somebody that embraces all of the values that the Cape Symphony as an organization has to offer. And we decided to put a committee together. And it's a fantastic committee. We've had a lot of fun actually working. It's 5 board members, 5 musicians, 2 staff members, and 1 member from our community. And we decided to kind of talk very openly and honestly about where we are as an organization today, but more importantly, where we're going as an organization in the future. And they've been some great chats. We decided to open up a search. And we opened the window for 1 month, just through the entire month of September, and we were very clear that we're closing it on the 30th. By the 30th, we had a couple hundred applications, and it was a very fantastic response. As I was cataloging and tagging every one of them, there's some really wonderful individuals in there, and so we're all very, very excited. The second phase, which was sort of the review phase, we're going to rely on our musicians. They're the ones that are going to be working very closely with the music director and the music making, and so they divided it into 5 groups and kind of went through the process of yeses, nos, and maybes. And then through the second phase, which we begin in November, we're going to try to call down to about 25 of those candidates. And we're going to pair 1 musician with 1 board member so they can actually break those 25 down, which we call sort of the research phase, to about 10 or 15. And then we want to do some interviews, which will be just probably during Zoom, just to ask them questions to get a sense for them. And then try as a goal, as a group, to really bring it down to about, if we can get 3, that would be perfect. But we'll take as many as 5. It just really depends on what the options are and what we're looking for in the institution. So our goal is to have that decision done by the end of the calendar year. So we can then have 2 months to engage those individuals to program concerts next fall. So we may do a little season manipulation where instead of going masterpiece, pops, masterpiece, we may do masterpiece, masterpiece, masterpiece. So we can bring a guest in September, October, and November. Which is kind of why I'd like to see the number get to 3. That way we can sort of do 3 straight concerts. Each time a guest comes in, we're going to bring them in for a whole week. So they don't just work with the orchestra, but they're going to meet with the community. We're going to open some rehearsals up so anybody that wants to come can come. We're going to have some Q&A sessions. We'll set up some meetings with community leaders, with arts leaders. We want this individual as a music director to be a part of the community. And not only want to embrace them, but we want to actually make sure that the community has a sense of who they'd be working with. And honestly, we want to solicit their input. It's a very multifaceted, it's very political, but it's a very artistic role. So we are looking for a special individual and someone we hope to actually, carry us for the next. We were lucky having a conductor for 17 seasons. That's not the norm. So if we can find somebody that can at least get us to another decade, that'll be the primary goal. So that way it gives everybody a chance to sort of work. It gives them a chance to really program, so we can see how they program, how they work with the marketing department, how do they work with the preschool department, that kind of thing. So that way, if we can make a decision by the following year, then they have a full year to then, it's all year season to program. And so then we can work to have a new conductor hopefully inserted before the 25-26 season.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, just a quick clarifying question. That week when you're going to be bringing in the people to meet with the community, do Q&As and stuff, is that all the same? Is it going to be 1 week where there's the 3 people on Cape?
1 week, 1 conductor.
1 week, they're going to get a week each?
Yeah, they get a week each.
All
And then
right.
October, we bring in another candidate, 1 week, 1 conductor. And then the third, in November concert, we bring in another candidate, 1 week, 1 conductor. That way, it's really letting them embrace the whole thing as one. So it's not incumbent by looking over your shoulder, or we want to keep it fair and open.
Mm-hmm. Don't want to have the literal races to the various no sabotage or
Right.
opportunity there. But it sounds like a very diplomatic process that you have
Yeah.
here with the musicians involved. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have been involved in lots of projects who would have loved to have the level of say in who their manager essentially might
Right.
be. So it's a very interesting process that you have going on.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we want to make sure voices are heard. I think that's the important thing. I mean, ultimately, in any music director search, it's a board decision. Any hiring, they have the authority to make the final decision. But as as the board has opened up, we want to trust the musicians and trust even some members in the community to get a perspective as to what we need as an institution. And the committee that the musicians put together, they elected their own committee, have been amazing to work with. They're very honest and they're very real with the challenges it's going to be for us to move forward as an organization. A nonprofit work is not easy work. There's a lot of a lot to consider trying to keep an institution sustaining, especially in this ever-changing climate. So, I think for them to understand the realities that we deal with, it's really been a good give and take, and I think that they've responded. I've enjoyed the meetings. We've had about 8 or 9 meetings, and they've all been fantastic. Just good conversation and very open and honest, hard questions, of what we're having to deal with looking down the road. So it's been a great process.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. So in the meantime, though, you're doing these various shows with multiple guest conductors in the meantime. It's a variety of guest conductors. Are some of them potentially in the running up ahead for this new position?
This season is we filled the guests in just because it was a good opportunity for the orchestra to work with some new conductors. That's always it's imagine if you were eating the same meal every day. It's this time when you have different courses, different things, there's different experiences. So it was kind of an eclectic approach we took to programming, and we got lucky. We have some really amazing conductors coming in. Since we've announced the search, I can say that some of them have put their hat in the ring. But we have decided that this is just a guest stint. It has nothing to do. There's no interviews. There's no expectations. Their job is come in and make a great concert for our community, and that's it. And if they make the cut to the next stage, then we look forward to welcoming them next season as a candidate for this position.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. In the meantime, just setting up, has it been a little bit more maybe work from the board or yourself as well in terms of helping to program and get some of these things up and running that normally would be the artistic director's responsibility? How's that dispersed?
Yeah, it fell on me to a certain degree to get sort of some of the conductors lined up, but we took as an opportunity also to restructure the artistic department, and that's kind of been a really exciting boost of adrenaline to the institution. We have some people that came back to the organization that were away and have taken on more heightened roles, Patrick Gallagher being one of them, who's really stepped in and just, took the bull by the horns, and he's very detail-oriented, very organized, and, we're already planning into the summer, which is, a fantastic change of events here. I heightened Joe Marcio's role. He was always listed as the assistant to the conductor, but he actually was the assistant conductor. And so, hey, you're the assistant conductor. Let's make it more publicly known and actually ask him to do some of the things that are necessary that assistant conductors can do. And that's working with the guests that are coming in, but also, he also runs the Chatham Chorale. As the holiday concert is with the Chatham Chorale. It just seems, and he always conducts a few pieces. It was like, how about you take the holiday concert and run with it? But Joe's also not only being a fantastic musician, he's a phenomenal organist, but, he's been very engaged about looking through other opportunities and ideas that we can do partnering with different organizations on the Cape. Being a Cape resident, he knows the unique aspects of our communities, and he's been a wealth of wonderful information and ideas, which has really kind of balanced the team. And then I think the really nice switch is we changed a role with our concertmaster, Jay Cosmos Lee. As you know, the concertmaster's primary role historically with orchestras has always been to serve as the guest or assistant conductor. They sort of have that secondary leadership role because they sort of bridge the gap from the conductor to the musicians, and he's responsible for sort of making all that work. So we decided to heighten his role he has a part-time position with the institution to really help with those artistic decisions from an orchestra's perspective, which we call the position the managing artistic director or managing artistic director. Principal, managing artistic principal. That's what it is. MAP. I knew it was an acronym, MAP. And for that role, he sort of serves us both in both capacities. And in the fact that he's leading the M2 concert, the Mozart concert, from his chair as concertmaster it's something they've always wanted to do with the conductor list, but it's really he's kind of conducting it from the concertmaster stage. But Jay is. He's been with the organization for over 10 years. He has his own nonprofit in town with A Far Cry. So he works all over the globe. And I think for having his artistic background, he's an amazing musician. It's kind of been a bridge over, two platforms because, management's this and orchestras are here and there's always the tension that comes with that, especially when we're dealing with the union orchestra. And Jay's really helped to bridge that gap because at the end of the day, we all want the same things. And that's what's important here. And Jay really helps guide us on that principle. So when you have his role and Joe, and Patrick, you have a lot of new voices that have seen the orchestra in its past and now have hey, let's try doing things a little bit out of the box. And it's been working. And I think the first concert was tremendous with our guest conductor, Farhad Hudiev. And then, last weekend's concert with Byron Stripling and Carmen Bradford, it was a whole other, view of the show that happened. And it was quite amazing. And so we've gotten some great responses. The orchestra has played amazingly well, and we're seeing a lot of people are curious. Ticket sales are actually up this year, which is a good problem to have. And I think a lot of people are curious to see what it is. I know that change is tough and transitions are what they are, but it's we still have to push forward. It's still an organization. We still have a lot of tremendous support, and I really appreciate everybody reaching out and telling us what they can do. And to the point where even somebody asked once in a concert about some of the pops programming, and so we said well, let's just start surveying, start asking people, and we put a notice out last Tuesday. We had a board meeting that day, and it went out at 9 a.m. And when we got to the board meeting at 3, our box office manager Amy Medeiros, she actually said we've already 400 responses to the pops survey, and I had a newsletter message to go out, so it just exploded and people were commenting left and right. It's it's your orchestra, and I think what we want to do is get in the habit of having more communications and more opportunities for people to check in. And so I'm very excited. Yeah, it's a very exciting time.
That is great to hear, especially with it's not very few regional places have a local symphony. That is a very unique thing for the Cape and Islands region. It's also good to know that you've had a lot of support from local leaders and whatnot. Yeah. It hasn't just been chaos reigns as soon as we've had the end of the summer season. So fantastic to hear about all the new ways you've been trying out different ways of organizing the symphony.
Yeah, it's definitely going well.
That is awesome. So actually, as well, speaking of the previous shows, I was wondering if you can give us a bit of a summer review about how things have been going so far. What are some of the differences between the symphony for the winter season versus the summer season? Some nonprofits and other organizations really scale back, but you guys have plenty of fall and winter shows. So what does that seasonal change kind of mean for you, and how did the summer go in general?
That's a great question. The winter season, I would say this academic season, because it's September to June. That is basically one concert every month, one cycle. We do several shows, and I think and it's interesting because we know where the ebbs and flows are. It's usually good in the fall. January, February, March, a lot of the snowbirds are going to Florida, and for us, but we still have audience members that are here year round. They're still attending the concerts. So we have been able to sustain it, and I think that's been the good thing. And a lot of it is just trying to keep things, spicy and moving forward. And I do like the intermixing of pops versus masterpiece. So, because some people are very specifically, I'm only coming to a pops concert, or I'm only coming to a masterpiece concert. So it's good that we keep that movement going forward. We are trying to focus a lot on the masterpiece concerts to really dig into the repertoire. And so it's It's not going to be more of a show, but more of an actual concert, just to get back to basics and traditions. And a lot of this is because the musicians want to play music. They like playing. That's what they've spent their whole careers are, and our musicians are good. It's a very strong institution, and so I think trying to keep that moving forward is, really our balance. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem to lag too much. Although, I'll be honest, the February shows are always the hardest ones to sell. Maybe it's that post-Super Bowl. I don't know. The Patriots lost this year. Who knows?
The lethargy that comes with.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we'll have you back in around
Absolutely.
February.
I'm going to be pumping it all weekend.
All the exciting shows. It's going to be Mike and every day actually for that season. So we also you mentioned the school season as well. I wanted to ask actually a little bit more about how education plays into the Cape Symphony. Just with schools now, the semester's hitting its stride. So I just wanted to ask a little bit more about some of those programs and involvement you've touched on, more about how you're involved in education, the education you guys provide. Can you just elaborate more for us?
Right, absolutely. We kind of connect on several pathways besides being in a place where anybody from young children through our preschool to adults can come learn, whether it's, want to learn an instrument, mind, body, health, and wellness. Joe Marcio is also teaching online classes with history, so there's a little bit something for everybody in education. With the school systems, we have two big programs that we support. The Young People's Concert, which is happening after our November M2 concert. We always do what we call as YPC. And that is where we invite all of the schools to bring their kids to the BPAC, and we play a concert for them. It's just straight and simple. And we have, I know, over 1,000 kids coming already. I haven't seen the recent numbers, but it's a very exciting show, and I usually get put on bus duty to help navigate what we can to get people in and out safely. And it's a wonderful thing that we do to help manage that connection with the schools. We also have a further connection with the schools with the Carnegie Link Up program, which is one we do every spring. And that program is a curriculum that goes out in the fall. So the teachers then work on the curriculum with a bunch of students, and they'll start learning on recorders, or they'll sing, or they'll bring guitars. And then they come to the orchestra and they experience a concert where they play along with the orchestra. And it's an amazing experience. I feel like I've been involved with it through multiple organizations, and it's watching certain places have, and knowing there's 1,400 kids out there with recorders playing along. It is a sight and sound to be seen and heard, and it always warms my heart when we do these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And then the youth orchestra is going strong. Our enrollment has I will say it's doubled. It went from, I think, 55 to 76 from when I heard the last numbers, which is great, considering it was barely limping through at the pandemic time. So seeing that we have a full orchestra in the youth side that's being staged, and we've gotten so big, we're actually looking to do our second concert at the BPAC in the spring because we're outgrowing our other locations, which is a good problem to have. But that's always an important connecting point. We work very closely with a lot of the, there's a lot of great music programs through the school system on the Cape. And whether, they're starting band, there's some jazz groups. And I think for us, we don't want to compete with those. We just want to sort of be as a resource to actually help work and collaborate with them to help get the kids in and do the things that they couldn't do there, they could do here, and so forth. And then, of course, give back when we can in performances. So it's, I'm very proud of the youth orchestra. Mark Miller, our conductor, who's also our principal clarinet, and then Kyle Spraker, who sort of manages the program, who's also our principal trumpet. So, the youth orchestra is a Cape Symphony Orchestra musician sort of managed, run organization. And so getting the fact these kids get to work side by side with some of the great musicians of the Cape Symphony Orchestra is a tremendous opportunity for growth, and whether they stick with it or not, I always believe that having music in your background is a benefit no matter what you do in life. So yeah.
Oh, hey, I mean, I can second that. Not second violin, Nassau Regional High School, but that is very interesting. So as well, not to only focus on the what you guys get as the Cape Symphony, but I mean, a lot of these people, a lot of these kids, that's the next generation of musicians for the Cape Symphony. Yeah. So it's interesting to think about that as well. How that's 20 years later, and might be seeing some of these people.
You never know.
But that is very interesting. Thank you so much for elaborating more on what you guys do. At this point now, I want to touch on functionally just what is the next concerts. We have the holidays, we have New Year's, we have all kinds of things. So do you mind just giving us a rundown of what shows to expect?
Yeah, well, we have in 2 weeks, we have the All Mozart concert, which is featuring Jay Cosmos Lee, our managing artistic principal. He'll be conducting from the concertmaster stage. And it's, we're looking at some of the good works with Mozart. As you know, he's always a crowd favorite. And we're welcoming Sylvia Barry, who's coming on, and she is playing as a guest pianoforte. And I think when we think of what's unique about her is that she's not coming to play the piano, but it's a pianoforte. And through the evolution of keyboard instruments, we've started with harpsichords, which was hammered strings, and clavichords, which pluck strings. And then the pianoforte, which is an instrument during the Mozart period, even into the early Beethoven eras. And it is sort of an evolution of the piano. So it's like a piano, but it's a little bit softer. But she's actually bringing it with her and, tunes for it. And hopefully we'll talk a little bit about the subtle differences between that and then the modern day piano, which everybody hears and knows. So it's going to be very period centric, hearing music from the late 1700s, and it's going to be a wonderful show. So definitely don't want to miss that one. And then of course our holiday extravaganza. We do 6 holiday shows, which is I was surprised. That's more than even when I was with the Philadelphia Orchestra. It's more than we even do there. But it's a crowd favorite. It's 3 days of 2 shows each. I know that we're highlighting the dance company, run by Michelle Kwaschek, and I know she's already got a piece prepped. And Joe, he wanted to make sure that this one was back to traditional Christmas. So he's really trying to, instead of taking it down different avenues, but let's get back to just nostalgic Christmas. And I was very excited when he put that program. I even forwarded it to the committee, to the musicians, and they approved. They said, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. And so it's going to be a fun show. And I know there's some conversations that I've been watching emails. There's some little surprises coming in there. So you don't want to miss this one. This one's got some really special things into it. So
I'm obligated as a journalist to try and pry out a little nugget of a hint. Is there any way I can get you to say like a little something for what to expect? Or is it under wraps?
It's still under wraps because I know they're working through the details. But if it plays out, it's going to be a very fun little aspect to show the joy of what music can do for young and old.
All right, awesome.
Yes.
It's interesting as well to talk a little bit more about the cultures and history, because you can pick up an instrument and play music without ever really knowing about Mozart, really. I mean, we all do because of school and popular culture. But does the Cape Symphony kind of take it upon itself to be like, here's the history of music, here's the classical eras versus this contemporary music, and where the differences are?
We try to draw parallels, I think is a good way to do it. And this is one of the things with Joe Marcio's classes. He's talking about things that we're programming. We want people to, and we do pre-concert lectures before all the Masterworks concerts, and we even did one before the Byron Stripling concert with Joe Persico, who really highlighted the work of the photographer whose first name I'm missing, his last name is Bradley, and it was a really great lecture to just talk about some of the images and some of the experiences that went on, with this photographer who's from the Cape, who traveled with Louis Armstrong, and that's hearing it from different vantage points really informs the listener, and it's not always about music. It's about the lives of these individuals that helped, they were the early content creators, the TikTokers of the age. And for them to actually, hear those stories and understand the context, it transcends the events. And so I feel that for us as an institution, anytime that we can help, draw those strings together, those timelines, that's kind of our, I think, one of the things we should be doing.
Now, very interesting. Before there was movies and books, there was music.
Yep.
That's what we had. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. We're about up on time. But is there anything else you wanted to highlight for our listeners while I still have you, where they can learn more or see more from the Cape Symphony?
No, I want to just thank all of our community supporters out there. As you know, the Cape Symphony relies on donations and support. And thank you for all that you do to help our organization. It's a wonderful ride knowing that we have a community that cares as much about this institution as we do, and finding new ways to collaborate. And I'm hoping we can come back for further conversations, Grady, to talk a little bit more about what we can do in the community. So thank you.
Oh, definitely. We'll have you back in, definitely, as well for the holidays, as well as
Fantastic.
more. But thank you so much, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Grady.
I'm Grady Collane, and this has been Sunday Journal.